But we're going to be getting into Uncharted. So we have Uncharted here, directed by Ruben Fleischer. Ruben Fleischer, who also big Sony guy right now. He did the 2 Venom movies. Well, he did.
He did the first Venom movie. He did both Zombielands. He did the other Jesse Eisenberg vehicle, 30 Minutes or Less.
Yeah. Andy Serkis directed the second Venom movie. My bad. He directed the first one. So so he's a big kind of Sony guy with them. And then this is starring Tom Holland, who's the big Sony guy right now, because obviously he's Spider-Man. Then you have Mark Wahlberg, who's in this, who's playing Sully. Tom Holland in this is the titular character Nathan Drake.
You want to know how long this movie has been in development hell? They first started talking about making an Uncharted movie back in 2010. I think it was right after, and David O. Russell was originally going to be the first director. It was like his next movie after The Fighter, and Marky Mark was set to play Nathan Drake in that version. And it's been in development hell so long, changed through so many directors and so many actors, that Marky Mark aged out of fucking Nathan Drake and joined the project back again.
Yeah. And lots of different names has been attached to this, like you said. You've had David O. Russell, who was attached to this at one point. That's why Mark Wahlberg was originally there, because him and David O. Russell have worked together. They did The Fighter together. They did that together. I mean, they've kind of, this is, like you said, been in development hell, bounced around for a long time.
I think when it got the most traction is when Travis Knight, the director of Bumblebee, was attached to this amazing animation director, or for some of you on the internet, the rapper Chili T.
Yeah. He directed Kubo and the Two Strings, which is an amazing animated movie. One of my favorites.
Which is an amazing fucking film. And I guess, he turned in a script to Sony. They said, what the fuck? This is good. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean, what happened is, quote unquote, creative differences, whatever that means, whatever happened there. But we have this
creative differences, which can mean any number of things. The studio hated what the director was bringing. Director didn't want to fight for it, or I don't know, a million other things that we could speculate on. But we could probably dig through years of NDAs before we actually get to what actually happened.
Yeah, maybe in 10 years he'll do an interview about it and break down the story of what happened or something like that. But here you kind of have it now with Tom Holland as the titular character, and I'm a big fan of the games. Love the games. The third one is one of my favorite video games of all time. It's one among them. I absolutely love them. Played all the games from 1 through 4. Played the spin-off game, even Lost Legacy, with Chloe Frazier's character, and then Nadine. And yeah, I mean, they're great action adventure games. The dialogue is really fun. Nolan North does a great job of doing the voice work for Nathan Drake, who, even he makes a cameo in the movie as well. In this Uncharted movie, he makes a cameo, which is a pretty bad cameo, by the way, but, whatever.
Yeah, that just, like a lot of this movie, it just made me mad.
Yeah, it's just an awkward kind of cameo. But it's like and then playing the game. What I love about it is it's a very cinematic game. It's a game that you could imagine, like, of all the games you ever would adapt to be a movie, this seems like the most easiest one to do because
it's pretty perfect.
Yeah,
it seems tailor made for a film adaptation, but again, like with a lot of Naughty Dog games, they're so cinematic. There's such huge action adventure, or something like in the case of The Last of Us, a horror spectacle. They don't really need to be adapted. Because you're basically just telling your game fans to say, hey, you want to do the exact same thing but without the controller?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, yeah. And with this movie, looking at the trailer, it's about how I expected it from seeing the trailer. It's aggressively mediocre as a movie. Just from beginning to end. It tries to, like I said, do the action adventure thing, and it's not even a good poor man's imitation of Indiana Jones or even something like The Mummy, which even Jungle Cruise, which we saw last year, which was my biggest surprise.
Jungle Cruise ended up being a better Uncharted movie.
Yeah, I mean that actually kind of understood how to do the action adventure thing. It was charming. It had personality. This doesn't have any personality. Doesn't It's really not that charming.
I think one of the many issues with this film is just with the casting, because I feel like with Uncharted, you have this incredible cast of characters. You have with Nathan Drake, with Sully, with Chloe Frazer, and in the games, those are such huge, distinctive personalities, and none of the actors here really capture that. It feels like this was a script that was written around the actors versus them bringing in actors to fit these characters.
Yeah.
I think that's why everybody feels so grossly miscast, especially Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. And I think Tom Holland, I mean, he's got his own charm. He's got his own likability.
Yeah. Tom Holland, he's doing the best he can with bad material.
It's just that because with this movie, it's a kind of almost a prequel kind of to the Uncharted franchise. It's establishing how Nathan met Sully. It's establishing how Nathan met Chloe. It's kind of getting into their relationship, and then in the games, when the games start, it's already you already see Nathan and Sully working together. It's a very mentor-mentee relationship. It's not until the fourth game that you know the origin and backstory.
Well, that's actually not true. The third game you do, fourth game just retroactively changes it.
Right. But that's the thing with the Uncharted games. Part of Nathan Drake's charm is that he's kind of more world weary. It's that he is kind of seen it all, done it all, and still manages to keep his cool. And when you and Tom Holland, he's good, but he doesn't fit that. I don't buy his take on the character as eventually becoming the Nathan Drake from the games. I don't buy him for 1 second.
Dusk, what were kind of your thoughts here?
Aggressively mediocre is probably the best word I could describe this movie. This movie is the best video game movie from 2006.
Yeah, I think I phrased this last night in a conversation with Hunter talking about the movie. For just like casual movie-going fans, people that have never even touched a PlayStation, don't know who Nathan Drake is, don't know these games. It's the most meh movie in the history of meh to ever meh. And if you are a fan of the games, it's Sony actively telling you to go fuck yourself for ever spending money on a PlayStation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't have to worry about this since nobody can get a PlayStation 5 anyway. They don't have to worry about that.
Low blow, man.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have to worry about that too much. But you can get the controller. I mean, you can get the controller and maybe get the controller and then go to the theater and make believe that you're playing the game. You can maybe do that.
Fuck you, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
it's Sony actively shitting down your throat and expecting you to say thank you for saying, "Hey, we made an Uncharted movie."
I mean, I'm not mad about the movie. I mean, the changes that they made to this, it's like everything's when something's adapted, it's gonna be changed because you have to take something like even if something popular in the medium that it's in. So if you take like a comic book or a video game or just a novel,
but there's a difference between making changes in an adaptation and having that sort of the story, like how we see with stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, they made changes, but most of the changes they made were for the benefit of telling that story.
You mean making a story?
Exactly.
Like just making a story.
Yeah, and we talk about adaptations with comic books. Yeah, they make changes to characters like Peacemaker. They make changes to Batman, Superman, all the fucking time. And more often than not, it actually works for the story they're telling.
Yeah.
Here, it's just if this had nothing to do with Uncharted, if this was just insert generic adventure movie title, then it would just be another crappy adventure movie that is probably gonna show up on TBS when you're hungover Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what it is. I mean, even, you know, the action in the game, I mean, in the movie, is kind of the...
Here's my live look at the action in this movie. Just bring you back to last night in the movie theater.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, the best action sequence in this movie is just a sequence from the game. It was the sequence from the plane.
It's not even close to being as cool as it is in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's not even in the same fucking ballpark.
I mean, because you have the scene in Uncharted 3 here, the scene where he's falling out of the plane, which was the big scene that you see in the movie here, which they released online early. They released that before the movie.
They knew that's all they had.
Yeah, I mean,
they released the best part of the movie online.
Yeah, I mean,
weeks before the shit came out.
It's kind of like what Mortal Kombat did at the beginning. They just released the whole first 10 minutes of the movie because they knew that was like the best part of it. You know, they kind of just did that.
Shit.
And you know, so that doesn't even really, I don't think, compare all that much. I do think the sequence, though, they have a sequence where they have like on helicopter where they're kind of flying these ships and everything like that. I did think that was kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of a cool kind of sequence because it kind of was like, okay, it was like a modern day kind of like pirate battles, but like you had these helicopters holding up the ships and they were kind of jumping from one ship to the next. I was like, okay, that was kind of cool. I thought a little bit towards the end of the movie. And the cast wise, I think, yeah, it's supposed to be, I guess, like I said, a prequel to what the Uncharted series becomes because you have much younger Nathan Drake, so he hasn't developed into the much world weary Nathan Drake that we saw in the video games. So you know, and you get a guy like Tom Holland who's a younger guy who, if this is a big success, then you can develop it into more movies and then he can be around, you know, a lot longer. Even though, I mean, even if you got a guy who's more in his 30s, late 30s. You still could do sequels with him. I mean, they did it with Bond. I mean, Bond, you know, they casted, you know, Daniel Craig already in his late kind of mid-30s, and then he was able to still do multiple sequels with that. So it's not impossible.
Yeah, but I think even if you had that plan in place with an actor like Tom Holland, I think Tom Holland's strengths as an actor, they don't fit a character like Nathan Drake.
Yeah. I think his charm and his charm kind of repertoire. Like the big thing, you know, about this, like a lot of people wanted Nathan Fillion, and he even made a short film about this one, Uncharted,
which is way better.
That short film is incredible, and it has the much better cast because you got Stephen Ween and Kansas No More Lang as Sully.
Yeah, so in that version, you had Stephen Lang who was Sully. And I think, you know, didn't the voice actor Nolan North say himself that he based a lot of the personality of Nathan Drake off of Nathan Fillion?
He based it off of Mal from Firefly.
Yeah. And that's kind of what Nathan Fillion has played through kind of most of his career is kind of that person. And then when you see Nathan Drake, he's kind of very sarcastic or, you know, sardonic in a way and, you know, kind of an asshole. And cocky and kind of brash and some of it, but also very like this, you know, self-assured guy. And then Tom Holland, he's got more of kind of an earnest charm, you know, more of a, I guess, boy next door charm, I guess you would say almost, in a way.
He's got the same kind of charm that gave Jason Biggs a career during the 2000s.
Kind of that kind of nerdy charm, you think?
Yeah, kind of like that nerdy, nerdy everyman charm, which doesn't really fit Nathan Drake because Nathan Drake, he's more cocky, he's more self-assured, he's more confident in thinking that, yeah, whatever goes wrong, I'll probably figure a way around this.
Yeah. Dusk, what kind of your thoughts there on the casting?
Right from the beginning when we saw the trailer, I didn't think highly of it. I even said at the time, that's not my Sully. Like, I don't even care. That's just bad. I don't know why.
I don't care what kind of mustache glue you put on your goddamn face, Marky Mark. You are not Sully.
It's just not. So the biggest problem, especially with having a cast of characters that you have with a game like Mario or a game like Sonic, you have to look into pantomimes and cartoons. You can kind of get some wiggle room with who you cast as voice acting and whatever. But with a game that prides itself on being kind of a bit more realistic with having these big bombastic scenes, you already have the characters. You have who they look like, and you already have who voices them. Making a live action version almost was just a foolhardy measure in the first place because you got everything you wanted. And the first moment I saw Tom Holland cast is like, oh, he's a new Nathan Drake. I'm like, no, he's not. He has too much of a boyish face, too much of a boyish charm. He's at best he could maybe play off being a smooth operator, but someone who's world weary, well traveled, he just doesn't have that charm to pull it. That's just not his strength. You needed someone else to really pull that off. And just the casting, even with the casting of Chloe, we haven't talked about that, but the casting of Chloe is also off. She does not capture the nature of her character as well. None of the characters really do. And the new characters here,
the only actor I think is actually like well suited to their part and actually bringing a lot of presence and charm is Antonio Banderas.
It is, yeah.
He's the best part about this movie, and
he is.
And
horribly underutilized him.
Yeah, horribly underutilized. He's barely in the movie.
Can I also state, for a movie that has a lot of action scenes in the games as well as cinematic set pieces, how bloodless this movie is? Noticeably bloodless.
The biggest sin with this movie,
so clean.
For me, it's just boring.
Yeah.
I was bored through almost the entire movie. I was basically just, the second I sat down, I was after like the first big set piece because the movie opens with that fucking plane sequence.
Yeah.
They right away blow their wad with the best thing about the movie, and it isn't even that good.
No.
And right after that, I was just, can I go home yet?
Yeah. Let's also be fair. This movie is full of the great set pieces that made the games great, with none of the context or the setups that made those moments so impactful and so interesting. Yeah. So it's kind of a recipe for disaster, along with a plot that's pretty incoherent with double crosses and backstabs and double backstabs and crossovers that is way too convoluted, that just makes no sense for people to have done. Just in these certain moments, you're just already making a really simple story, and you're trying to add these elements to make it more complicated than it really is.
Yeah. You're adding layers to something where you don't need them there. You're just making this already convoluted mess of a movie even more convoluted.
It's like adding multiple layers in Photoshop, and they're all like chained, but they're all invisible, and you're like, why did you even bother? There's nothing on them. But
it's like adding an Instagram filter on top of an Instagram filter.
Yeah, it's just, all right, man. I'm bored even talking about this movie. Can we just go to ratings?
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, with this movie, I mean, the character-wise, I don't think anybody really matches up, too well. No. Again, but I think a lot of that has to do with, like I said, a lot of these are supposed to be the start of these characters, and I guess who they become. And then the character Antonio Banderas, I mean, he's a new character made for the movie, and then so is like his hench people. Even though I will say, I think my favorite person in the movie, I will say, is Tati Gabriella. People know her. She was in Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
She was in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and she was just in season 3 of You as one of the love interests there, where she was fantastic in.
Yeah, she was in that as well. Here, I think I was like, well, maybe under better direction, she would have made a better like Nadine or somebody like that. I think maybe something like that is like, and Nadine was one of the hench people in the fourth game. She was like one of
Yeah.
the main kind of how the same kind of similar role here as she's in this because she heads up.
Yeah, and she
and
was also not very well liked in 4. It wasn't really until Lost Legacy that people started to like her more.
Yeah. So I think that she would have was like, well, she kind of would have made maybe a better Nadine, maybe if that was the case. Because her character kind of serves some of the same
No,
function
maybe.
here.
I mean, let's also be fair. If you've ever played the Uncharted 3 games, we already had a relationship between Sully and Nathan. Was not older than 12 or 13 when they flashed back to 3. And they already set up. Sully was already a professional, and Nathan was just a street kid getting by with a tentative connection to Sir Francis Drake. That was the whole setup, and they already had this beginning of origin story, going like I'm just a bartender, and my brother and I retroactively given in the fourth game. We're just gonna do things, and hey guys, I'm kind of like doing my Tom Holland thing, and I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna like just stop. Just stop. And Marky Mark couldn't act his way out of a paper bag to save his life. He's got too much of the Boston in him, and he can't do it. Just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can be good in things. I just don't think he's
Yes.
good in this. It just doesn't fit him, or maybe he just was confused as to.
And there's no chemistry.
Yeah, it's just like
That's the most important part. There's no chemistry between these characters. All right, you know what? I'm done. I'm done talking about this movie. I want to talk about something I actually want to talk about, which is Peacemaker. Uncharted movie. It's horribly mediocre, but for the missing up of the chemistry alone, it's a 4 out of 10. You can just miss it. Don't even stream it. Don't bother. Play the games instead. Play the first 3 at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that with this, the thing is, Mark Wahlberg. I've seen him better in other things. It's just that I just feel like he didn't know what tone to really go for here. In the movies or just direction wise. Didn't really know what to go for. And the chemistry, which is such a big part of the games between Sully, between Nathan. Like I said, it's a mentor-mentee kind of relationship because you see in the games that Sully very much takes Nathan under his wing, at a very young age, and then kind of you see he grows up with him. So
There's not enough goddamn.
And here just they try to do the banter. The dialogue is just weak. It's not written well enough. They don't have any good. If you had maybe somebody to come punch it up, the dialogue that would have did a lot better. The jokes don't land well.
I think it's less of an issue with the dialogue written and more the fact that that Marky Mark is not a good actor. There are maybe I can count on one hand how many movies I've actually thought that Marky Mark has been in where I don't think it wouldn't have been improved with a different actor. He's just completely charismaless. He's not playing Sully. He's playing Marky Mark.
I mean, yeah.
Marky Mark can fit in certain movies.
Yeah.
He can fit in certain projects. He's just not best for here. And honestly, if you...
Yeah, there's 3 movies I actually like Marky Mark in. The Fighter, Lone Survivor, and Pain and Gain. Yeah. That's about it.
I mean,
The Departed also I thought was perfect.
Departed is also not bad too.
Yeah, Departed and
he also has Martin Scorsese directing it. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to see a great little adventure movie that has globe-trotting and a sense of fun and adventure with some danger, go watch The Adventures of Tintin.
The animated movie?
Yeah, the animated Adventures of Tintin. That's a more fun globe-trotting movie. Even Jungle Cruise is a better take on material like this. Shit, fucking I'm trying to remember the goddamn name. It slipped my mind. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I will say when they go to the different locations, also that looks good. I think when they go to the locations, the different stuff. I think when they go to Spain.
Yeah,
it has a lot of money in it.
That CGI backlot looks great.
Yeah.
I think when they do that, I think it's like that's actually kind of nice when they kind of go to those different kind of places like that. Actually,
that'd be cool. If, I was actually invested in what they were doing.
Yeah.
But guys, so what do you think, Josh? What would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend that. I think is this the worst video game adaptation I've ever seen? No,
No.
I don't think. It's just I mean, especially after seeing Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City last year, which was
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Oh, fuck me.
It definitely is much better than something like that. Like I said, it's just something that's forgettable. I'd forget it in a week time. If somebody asked me to even talk about the plot, even a day later, I'd probably be like, I'd struggle to even tell you what the plot was or what they were doing there. The characters in it, I don't think they're all that good and fit the characters. And I'm not just saying, well, in the game they did this and in the game they did that. Because you can change up characters from different adaptations as long as it's just an interesting thing for the movie or whatever thing adaptation you're doing. It's just that I just don't think they are interesting characters. Like, I don't think anybody seeing this would go like, I really want to see a trilogy with these characters, because I just don't think they're all that interesting or that memorable. I mean, like I said, there's a couple of good action set pieces, but those are mostly from the game. Like the plane scene, that's from the game, so that's not anything new. And then I did like the helicopter sequence, but other than that, I think there's kind of nothing all that interesting about it. It's bland and mediocre. I'd give it a very, very kind of low stream it myself. Maybe if you had it on in the background, maybe something like that, and that I guess would be fine. Nick.
I've always said on this show, I'll take a movie that is aggressively bad, but at least some of those can be fun and entertaining, versus something that is just aggressively mediocre and just poorly misguided in every single step of the way, from the casting to the choice of the director to just how many years this movie spent in development hell, and Sony just not getting the message is like, look, we already have a perfect Uncharted movie. It's in the games. The games are the perfect Uncharted movie. We have the short film with Nathan Fillion and Stephen Lang. That's the perfect Uncharted movie. This, I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know what the fuck Sony is trying to do with it. Besides, like, cash in, say, hey, game fans are fucking idiots. They'll pay for anything as long as they slap the game title on it. If Sony, if you're telling me to go fuck myself for liking and appreciating these games and expecting something good, I'm gonna tell you to go fuck yourself right back. This movie's a waste of fucking film. This shit pissed me off.
Wow. Hey, thank you, Javon. Good. Thank you for the lurk. Thank you for the 30 bits there, man. Much appreciated.
Hey, Javon.
Hey, what's going on, man? And Nathan Fillion. I mean, looking at that live action short, and if you could have got him, I mean, when he was kind of doing the action bits in the live action, kind of short they did, it did look like a guy that was kind of 40 plus doing the stuff, doing the action scenes.
It looked like a guy that was in his late 40s, but even then, Nathan Fillion he's kind of got like, we'll talk about this tomorrow, kind of like that Jack Reacher build. Even if he's like not in the best physical shape, he's still a big fucking dude.
Yeah. He is 6'2". He's kind of. Hey, thank you for playing the afternoon delight there, Javon. Good. Thank you for playing the alert there. I have to add that other alert that I have to. I have to add that one. I mean, you could have maybe put him on the Sony Marvel workout plan. You know what I mean? You could have maybe trimmed him down.
Yeah. Just do that. Chicken, broccoli, rice, HGH, 7 times a day for a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you could have maybe had him do that, and what I mean, but and then maybe got Bruce Campbell to be Sully or Stephen Lang or
Bruce Campbell, Stephen Lang, Bryan Cranston. Any of them would have been a better pick for Sully.
You could have maybe did that, but Nathan Fillion is 50 right now, and then given how long this movie was in development,
He could have been a great Uncharted 4 Nate.
Yeah. But yeah, I
nice
it's
cameo too.
And then Nathan Fillion, not like many people know who he is, and like obviously people know who Tom Holland, Spider-Man. He's got, his movie's crushing record right now, so people know who he is than someone like Nathan Fillion. So they're gonna go with.
Let's both be honest. The reason that movie is crushing it the way it is because it is a Spider-Man movie. It is not because of Tom Holland.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely because it's a Spider-Man movie. But as far as people still know his face. People still know, oh, that's Spider-Man, and maybe they're banking the studio's thinking like, well, maybe somebody will see it and then go like, oh, let's just go see Spider-Man in something, you know?
Yeah, how's Chris Hemsworth's career doing outside of Thor?
Yeah, I mean that's very true. I mean, people didn't a lot of people watch Extraction on Netflix?
That's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's not asking people to drive to a theater to go see it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, like you said, so low streaming for me. Then Dusty gave it a low streaming as well, and then waste a fucking film for Nick there.